We literally just missed our flight.
The gate agent just told me to go ahead and...
The older that I get, the more I start to realize why my parents were the way that they were. Come here. This was already said so beautifully before, but when it comes to a flight, especially in my older age, it does not matter the airline. It does not matter the airport. If I have a flight scheduled for a certain hour, I need to be at the airport at least 2 days beforehand. Does that make sense? Just to make sure. All right. For the airport, that is a definition of if you are on time, you are late. And if you are very early, you are on time. Does that make sense? If I were to show up to the airport 40 minutes before my flight, oh, I'm sweating, I'm perspiring, I'm nervous because I'm at that point, I'm like, it's too late for me. Does that make sense? I mean, growing up, our parents were like that. If we had a flight scheduled for noon, they have us awake and at the airport at 5 in the morning. And as kids, were like, why are we doing this? This isn't necessary. Get closer. As you get older, it starts to just feel more necessary. I'm not going to lie to you. I think they were just getting us ready for grown-up life.
Today has probably been one of the worst travel days I've had in my entire life, and that's saying a lot because I've had some pretty bad ones. But I just want to vent about it. So my original flight was out of LaGuardia this morning at 11 in the morning. I got a notification at 4 in the morning that my flight had been delayed. So I got my ass up and decided to come to the airport earlier to try to jump on an earlier flight. I really didn't want to miss one of my best friend's housewarming parties today. So I got to the airport. I ended up getting on an 8:50 a.m. flight. I was like, hell yeah, it was perfect timing. As I was recording that last video, I got an email that my flight got canceled. But I would like to speak my truth. This morning, I was booked on the 8:30 flight. I felt like such a badass that I made it. Heck yeah, I'm gonna get home at 1 p.m. Then the captain tells us that they need to do a reboot of the plane because of maintenance issues. So they do the reboot, everything's good. We start taking off, we're on the runway. I understand airlines can't do anything about weather, but we're sitting there for about an hour and they tell us that they're gonna reroute us and that it's gonna take 4 hours instead of 3 because it's a longer route to avoid the thunderstorms. But legally, they don't have enough fuel or the right paperwork to take off, so we have to go back to the gate, fuel up, and get the paperwork, so that takes about another hour. So by that time, they already rescheduled us to 10 and we're like, okay, we're gonna fly out. My Dallas to El Paso just keeps getting pushed. Then everything's good. They say we've got our fuel, we're flying out, but there's 50 planes in line because everybody's getting held back because of the weather. So we sit there on the plane for another 3 to 4 hours before they tell us that we've timed out and now we have to wait for a gate to open up. And they're either going to take us to some middle of nowhere spot, attach some stairs and make us walk out in the rain, or we're actually going to get a gate. So after another like 45 minutes, we get a gate, we get to deplane. It was about 7 hours of sitting on the plane. I was joking about it, but I literally could have been in Europe. I think I was going insane. So we get off the plane and everyone's a little frustrated, but I used the bathroom. I hadn't eaten all day, so I ate. They end up rescheduling our flight to 6:30 p.m. I'll still get to El Paso at 11. I'm like, okay, I just want to get home at this point. I sit down, I start recording this video just to vent a little bit, and then I get an email that the flight got canceled. But my coworkers stayed on their original flight, and their flight had gotten canceled a few hours before, so they got easily rebooked to tomorrow. But because they waited so long to cancel our flight, all the flights are gone. There was no flights for me. 0 flights. They said they couldn't automatically rebook us, and they said, here is a rebooking card. Have fun. So I went on my app and I started chatting with the American Airlines guy, and he said, I can't help you. You need to do it at the airport. I was waiting to get my bags. I waited another 3 hours in the baggage claim. 3 hours to get my bags back. At this point, it was 6 p.m. I'm sitting there just like defeated. I go to the American Priority Desk and the lady's very nice. I mean, it's not their fault. So she got me on standby for tomorrow at 6 a.m. I currently have no confirmed flight from New York to Dallas. I'm gonna show up tomorrow, beg and pray that I get off the standby list. Now I'm staying in Harlem, because it's the only hotel I could find because of the World Cup. I'm not lost in the fact that traveling is a privilege and it's a luxury and I love it and I'm super grateful. But days like this is just, I'm defeated. Whoever's doing brujeria on me, you win. You win. You got me today. You got me.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Powerless, the channel where we take a closer look at the issues affecting ordinary people and examine the bigger story behind the headlines. Today we are discussing the growing number of complaints being shared by passengers about their experiences with American Airlines, from unexpected flight cancellation and repeated delays to missing crews. Now, confusing information as well, package problems, and additional charges. Many travelers say their journeys have become stressful, expensive, and exhausting. These passengers paid for a service and planned their trips carefully, but some claim they were left stranded at airport without clear information or meaningful assistance. Watch this first set of clips carefully, listen to what these passengers experienced, and then we will come back with our commentary.
Okay, I'm finally back home safe, but I got so much backlash from my American Airlines TikTok video, so I just want to clarify some things. The first thing I want to talk about is that video was made at like 1 in the morning after traveling an 18+ hour day and like dealing with all the emotions and distress, and it was just me venting like on my TikTok to people. So I just wanted to warn people, and I wasn't sitting there like receipt for receipt like pulling up every single thing that happened, nor did I fully explain everything that happened. Like, my brain was so scrambled that night. First thing was, people were accusing me of being rude to like a American Airlines worker. I would never sit there and lash out at people. I know that gets me nowhere, and I've worked in hospitality, I've worked with huge corporate companies, and I would never blame a singular worker for them just having to follow policies that a big company makes for them. I was more so saying, like, American Airlines as a multi-million-dollar company, do better for your customers, and or give your customer service more training on how to treat their customers. Never once did I yell at a agent or treat them with any disrespect. I was actually yelled at multiple times, and so were other customers around me, yelled at multiple times just for asking simple questions. I understand there's a lot of shit going on, but as a customer service or someone in hospitality or working for a big corporate company, it is your job to take the backlash and sit there and smile and say, hey, you know what? I'm so sorry for everything. Here's what I can do for you, and I'm going to sit down and educate you on what I can and can't do. That way we can have a mutual relationship, not yell at, you know, a person for what's going on because you're so overwhelmed, ever. Anyways, again, I've worked in customer service. I've had to take the backlash. I've worked for big corporate companies. I've had to take backlash due to their like horrible policies. I would never sit there and blame one single individual for it. I was just saying, American Airlines, do freaking better. I would not ever recommend them. Second thing is I am not educated on what I can and can't get accommodated for or refunded for. This has never happened to me flying, and the rude backlash that I got from people of like, well, this isn't their fault, blah, 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 blah. I don't know that. And if I was like sat down and educated on that, maybe I'd be a little bit in a happier mood. But yeah, I was like, why are you yelling at me for like, I feel like you messed up on your end. So my first flight wasn't a weather delay. It was a mechanical issue, and we had to sit there for 10 hours till they got a new plane. Also gets to a point where it's like, if it is a weather delay, how much longer are you gonna blame it on weather versus like, you don't have enough resources in your company to help your huge influx of customers. Like, the storm happened 3 days ago. At this point, there's people that can't get home for 2-3 days because of weather that happened 3 days ago. Like, you need to be prepared for that shit. I'm not stupid. I'm not ignorant. My brother is a pilot. Like, I understand that there are certain conditions that I don't know about that we shouldn't be flying in, right? I'm never gonna be like, well, why can't you get me up in the air? I don't want to die. Like, I understand that, but it does get to a certain point where it's like, okay, the weather is gone. Like, you can't blame this on delays. Like, you're screwing up and you're putting people on the streets because of this. And don't know all the rules about refunds, accommodations. I will be calling today trying to get more money back, but I was kind of just venting like, what the heck? Like, because there were people that were on my flight getting hotel accommodations and getting food vouchers or getting put in the lounge, and I wasn't. Like, there was like such chaos going on that people were giving out things and then they weren't giving out things, and it was like, you need to do better. Not just be like running crazy and having the people that work for you like have no idea what's going on and yelling at people because they're so stressed out. So other people were mad at me because I mentioned I had to pay for my bag being overweight. Yeah, my bag was overweight because for 5 days, not one singular person when I checked in my bag scanned the bag or put it on my flight. They finally found it after one person finally scanned my bag 5 days later, and I had to pay for $5 worth of toiletries and clothes on my trip. My bag was literally 2 pounds overweight, and I was pissed because I was like, you're making me pay again out of pocket for my bag being overweight when like you literally like I was my valuables and everything were missing for 5 days. You could see how upset I was after everything that was going on. Like, you can't waive a $50 bag fee. Again, that is not the actual agent's issue. American Airlines do better. Like, I'm pissed off at that point. Like, literally just waive the fee. It was 2 extra pounds. Like, other girl was like going off on me saying that if I'm traveling, I should be able to afford it, and I shouldn't be complaining about putting myself in a hotel when, like, issues and accidents like this happen. All I was saying was, I am lucky enough to be able to afford the hotel. I am lucky enough to be able to afford the extra food or whatever, but there are some people that aren't. And again, yes, that's on them, but there are some people that were like traveling because maybe someone died or like an issue happened in their family and they scrounged up their very last pennies to go on this trip. And it's like the fact that you're treating them so rudely and like with such disrespect, like, at least like have some compassion for them. This had nothing to do with me and my situation. I was just saying, like, I feel bad for the people like that. I'm blessed enough to be able to, you know, not be put in these horrible situations. Like, I was able to afford a hotel whereas people were sleeping on the floor. Anyways, at the end of the day, my main point was, like, if you are such a huge company, you should be trained enough and have policies set up for your paying customers. Even if I got nothing out of this, I still would never, and all of it was my fault, let's say, I still would never recommend American Airlines because of the way customer treated me and other customers that were on my flight and that were on other flights. There were literally, like, there was an old lady in line that was 80 years old, and she was just asking for a wheelchair and, like, maybe some help to, like, get a taxi because she didn't know how to, like, she didn't have an iPhone, like, she didn't know where the nearest hotels were, and they were basically like, screw off, like, if you need a wheelchair, you need help, like, if you're having such an issue, go call 911. Like, I was lucky enough to have the money, I was lucky enough to have the body and all of that, but, like, have some freaking decency. Give your customers a smile. Take the backlash because your company did kind of screw up. Sit there and educate your clients so that they understand what's going on rather than just yelling at them and being angry at them because you're so overwhelmed. And, you know, have some freaking decency. Like, even if I didn't get paid to help people out in certain ways, like, I would still sit there and be like, oh my God, I feel horrible for this 80-year-old woman. Like, let me at least tell her where, like, the taxi station is or other hotels nearby that she could sleep at tonight. Or maybe I can go get a wheelchair from the back, even though it's not my job, and, like, help wheel her. Again, I understand it's not her issue, but the fact that you're screaming at an 80-year-old woman and screaming at us where we have no idea what's going on, we're so confused, and, like, you're giving people some things and you're not giving people other things, like, get your shit together. That's all I'm saying. I would literally never recommend them. Also, I just want to put out there, the cherry on top that, like, really, like, did it for me was yesterday when I got home. Obviously, like, my luggage came early, a day early, so it was sitting in, like, their baggage claim office. There was no worker there. The door was locked. I literally had to go up and down the airport trying to figure out if I could get my bag that day. People were telling me to go here, go there. Like, no one had any idea, like, why there wasn't a worker in that office. And then, like, as my ride is waiting for me, circling the airport for an hour, I had to sit in, like, the actual check-in line because no one wanted to, like, speak to me. They thought I was cutting the line. No one wanted to sit there and help me. I had to sit in that line for 45 minutes to finally ask, like, the person that's checking in the bags, like, hey, like, can I just get my bag? Like, I just want to go home at this point. So yeah, again, even if I didn't get anything out of this, I would still never recommend American Airlines.
What these stories review is not simply the inconveniences of one delayed flight. They point to a larger concern about communication, consistency, accountability, and how passengers are treated when something goes wrong. One passenger described being diverted because the aircraft reportedly needed fuel, only for the crew to reach its working time limit and the passengers to be left waiting for replacement. Now, another family claimed they were unexpectedly required to pay $793 for Ochai to board the return flight, even though they said the child had traveled on the first flight without the same problem. Other passengers described several cancelled flights, sudden gate challenges, extremely long airport waits, separated luggage, unavailable crews, and upgrade offers appearing while they were still stranded. Weather and mechanical problems can happen in aviation. But now, another family actually claimed they were unexpectedly required to pay $793 for their 2-year-old child to board the return flight, even though they said the child had traveled on the first flight without the same problem. Other passengers described several cancelled flights, sudden gate changes, extremely long airport waits, separated luggage, unavailable crews, and upgrade offers appearing while they were still stranded. Now, weather and mechanical problems can happen in aviation, yes, but passengers deserve timely updates, reasonable alternatives, transparent policies, respectful treatment, and appropriate support when an airline cannot provide the service that was purchased. What do you think about this? Do you believe the airline handled these passengers fairly, or should it have done more to assist them? Share your thoughts in the comment section and subscribe to the Power Lens for more stories. And you know what? Let's watch more clips and we'll return back for our commentary.
I'm hoping this video reaches the right audience because I'm currently in Rome, not by choice. As much as I've always wanted to go to Italy, I have never wanted to be somewhere less than I do right now. Me and my friends went to Greece for 10 days, and on our flight back to JFK in New York, we had an emergency landing about an hour and a half into the flight from Athens to JFK. There was a lot of commotion in the back of the plane, and we were more towards the middle. My one friend was in the back witnessing most of it, but I went to the bathroom, and I heard a lot of screaming and some woman in the back who seemed clearly, like, insane. Literally, the second I got back to my seat, the seatbelt sign went on, and there were all these noises, and over the whole plane, they had announced that there was a security issue. Sorry for the inconvenience, but basically it was described as a lockdown. And everyone looked around because the flight attendants were panicking. The pilot at one point had literally gone to the back of the plane. So that in itself was very, like, unsettling as a passenger. This was American Airlines, by the way. Everyone was kind of looking around. Everyone was frantic. We heard security issue. We heard lockdown, 2 words that really aren't great to hear on a flight. Then maybe like 15 minutes later, over the speaker, they had said that the security issue was involving a passenger, an unruly passenger. So at this point, I don't even know what that could mean because people are clearly panicking. Like, flight attendants are in tears. We had seen people had moved seats or had gotten their seats moved at the same point that the, like, commotion started on the plane. So I heard just some people talking behind me, and I was eavesdropping at them saying that we were going to Rome. And on our flight screen, we could see that now the destination was Rome. But there was never an announcement to tell us that. So everyone's kind of panicking. My mind's obviously going to the worst possible scenario. And then maybe after like 30 minutes, the pilot says, like, we're landing in Rome. We're, like, taking a diversion into Rome right now. But that was it. And we quickly started descending down before he had even said that. So at this point in time, I'm thinking the very worst. I hear security, I hear lockdown, and now our location is switched, and we are descending at a very fast rate. Me and my friends are literally holding on to each other for dear life. I was in tears, freaking out, panicking, no service at the time. All said and done, we land in Rome. The woman is literally escorted off by the CIA, I believe it was, Italian police. Okay, to continue this story, sorry, I'm back in New Jersey, but all said and done, we land in Rome, okay, and a million unmarked, like, people of power, Italian police, air marshals, possibly CIA, flight attendants, American Airlines workers, pilots, were all headed to the back of the plane, and we were told nothing. They were taking the woman out from the back of the plane. They had restrained her, and we could see from the side, out the windows, that she was getting taken off of the plane. She was clearly resisting. I'm sure she was mentally unstable. But while we're sitting here, this is all happening. We're told nothing. And then soon, probably, I want to say 40 minutes into this whole commotion, the announcement was simply that we had diverted and they had to do mechanical checks and refuel so that it would be about an hour, I think they said, or 40 minutes. Now, during this time, we're getting notifications from American Airlines that our flight has been rescheduled to tomorrow in the morning. Like, I want to say, like, it started at 11:15. Meanwhile, I didn't get these notifications, but my friends did. And I don't know if it was because my app wasn't, like, updated at the time, but the flight kept moving from 10:15, like, 11:15 to 10:15 to 9:15. Like, these were not real flights. Like, that is not, like, a protocol flight from Rome to JFK, so like it clearly was not accurate. Keep in mind, while this is happening, we are being told nothing. People are just getting up and like talking to each other, trying to get any information that we can. Then soon after, I want to say 45 minutes to an hour, the captain makes an announcement and says, I understand from some passengers that you guys have been made aware of some changes to your flight, like whatever. Like, we don't know anything about this. That is between American Airlines and its services or whatever. So this is clearly unsettling to hear, because not even does the onboard crew know what is going on in terms of when we'll get home or what's happening next. So while this keeps happening, now the notification says that our flight is canceled for tomorrow. Therefore, we're stuck in Rome. And I want to say maybe 20 minutes later, the captain announces again and says that we will be staying in Rome and that he guesses we have a flight tomorrow. He said, quote unquote, see you tomorrow, probably. Meanwhile, there's no plane. There's no notification that we have a flight. So we're given minimal to zero directions. I can't even tell you, because I was in fight or flight at this point in time after panicking for like an hour or two at this point because of how long we had sat on the runway in Rome. So we're now following a crowd of just whoever was on our flight into the Rome airport, and we're just walking through customs, and we end up at like a baggage claim area, maybe a random terminal. I don't even know where the fuck we were. I've never been there. We're trying to get any information we can about accommodations and transportation to this shelter because we have no idea what we're about to do. At this point, I want to say it's like 7 p.m. about. We sit in the airport while there are 3 airport workers. Not one of them is an American Airlines representative. Not one of them speaks good English. Meanwhile, there are 200 plus passengers trying to get accommodations from them. We're asking them, where are you taking us? What's happening? All they needed was our passport, and they were giving us groups to be transported to a hotel. When we asked where the hotel is, they said we're still planning, yet 2 of the buses with passengers had already left. Not that it was the airport workers' fault, because they don't work for American Airlines, so how could they be aware? But there was not one American Airlines worker, even in Italy, for all we knew, to help with questions or accommodations. So me and my friends end up being the last group to get a group number to be transported to a hotel. So we're watching all these buses take passengers to an unknown location for an unknown amount of time. Now we're all getting notifications that we have a flight rescheduled for tomorrow at 2 p.m. It is now 11 p.m. and we are still in the airport. Eventually, we get on this bus. We're the last people. There's probably like 10 other people on the bus. And we asked the guy, because we had heard rumors that these hotels were 2+ hours away. We ask him, where are we going? He's pretending not to speak English. He says yes. When we say, how far are we going? Where are we going? Etc. All in all, we end up getting off the bus and we make our own accommodations, which costed us more money because we had to get a train, an Airbnb, and a train back to the airport in the morning. They also screwed up my friend who was in our party's flight and gave her an 11 o'clock flight instead of the rest of us getting a 2 o'clock. Fast forward to the next day when we are on our way to the airport for our flight. It's not allowing us to check in on the app and get boarding passes. So it takes over an hour, 15 minutes to simply get a boarding pass because the flight literally does not exist. The entire customer service department of international flights at the Rome airport was literally just our flight. The check-in process alone took maybe 2.5 hours. So at this point, we're running to our gate, even though we arrived 3 hours early, because our flight literally didn't exist. When all is said and done, we get a really great flight, everything goes smoothly, but then there's no gate for us to land in. So we are literally sitting on the runway for over an hour once we land. I don't even know where to go next with this, but all I know is that American Airlines owes all of these passengers an apology and not much more than just points towards an American Airlines flight. I will never be flying American again. They didn't give us meal stipends for those 20 hours that we were stranded. The app was down, the customer service department's down, and there was complete absence of any American airline workers in Rome, period. The staff I actually felt bad for because they were unaware of what their airline was even telling passengers. I don't know where to go from here. All I can say is screw American Airlines. I had multiple panic attacks on that plane 2 days ago and hardly made it home. They breached so many procedural safety precautions.
Thank you for watching up to this point. Now, in my opinion, this is what I would say. American Airlines should carefully investigate each complaint. Yes, they should investigate each complaint, communicate directly with the affected passengers, and provide refunds or appropriate compensation whenever the airline fails to honor its responsibilities. Now, airlines should also improve how their booking systems, airport employees, flight crews, customer service teams, and mobile application communicate with one another. Passengers should not receive conflicting information, be pressured into unexpected payments, or remain stranded for hours without knowing whether their flight will depart. At the same time, every complaint should be reviewed fairly because social media videos usually present the passenger side of the experience. Oh yes, and the airline should be allowed to explain what happened. However, when several passengers report similar complaints involving delays, cancellation, crew shortages, luggage, communication, and customer service, these concerns should not be ignored. Yes, they should not be ignored. Now, what do you think the airline should have done differently, and would this experience discourage you from booking a flight with them? Let us know at the comment section. All right, do it to state your opinion. Like this video, share it, subscribe if you haven't, and thank you for watching. See you in our next video. Bye.